Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show, we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Walking Dead. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. But first and foremost, obviously we have Gamma, aka Mary, aka Gamma, showing up at Alexandria, and the whole question is like, well, do they believe her or not? Because we as the audience know, it's like, well, she is telling the truth. It does make you wonder what made Gamma decide to move the horde. Maybe she has had a feeling, or maybe someone kind of gave her a heads up. I don't know. It's just because like the fact that someone gave you a heads up, well, it could have just been like you saw them in your territory, but it's like what made her, I guess she felt like maybe she was already preparing for a strike or something like that. Whatever the case may be, even Gamma was like, I don't know why she moved it to, like, wasn't a field, but in a cave. Because even, Mary doesn't get all the ins and outs of why Alpha does what Alpha does. And obviously, Gabriel's like, okay, so why should we trust you? It's like, the baby that was left outside of Hilltop, that was my nephew. I just want to see him. It's like, where's his mom? And it's like, my sister's dead. So, and it's like, all right, we'll show you a map. It's like, all right. And then Rosita proceeds to punch her in the face because I'm like, well, to be fair, after the whole Dante situation, you're going to be super reluctant to trust any Whisperer, so I can understand that. And so it's a situation of putting her in the same cell. It's like, yeah, you're the third Whisperer we've put in this cage. Also, if you're not careful, you'll be the second one to die in this cage. Because even Gabriel was like, we're not, essentially Rosita and Gabriel being like, we're not, no like second chances, no like torture or anything. We're just straight to the killing. So you better make us believe you. Because for them, it's interesting. It would be these two particular people after the whole Sadiq situation. It hit them the hardest amongst anyone else. And so, obviously, Mary ends up telling, it's like, what if I can't make you believe me? Then they're like, then you die. So it's like, because Gabriel's like, I can see something that you're holding something back. You're not telling the entire truth. And so Mary ends up admitting, like, I killed my sister for Alpha. She didn't even have to ask me to, And that's what makes it the worst for Mary. It's just like, I killed her. It's like, it's not only do I realize now that Alpha's way isn't the only way myself. I only just realized that myself, but now I also realize, like, I did so much in her name. She ends up talking about it later on with Judith, of like, the fact of the matter is, she says like, oh, my name is Mary, and like, she's like, my mom and dad, but like, then she's like, actually, I don't remember, because it's like Alpha has a way of getting inside of your head, basically making you kind of, it's like who you were before doesn't matter, because the moment you joined us, you were dead. So who that person was kind of erased who Mary was. So everything that was Mary, hence why like she would go as far as she did, killing her own sister to protect Alpha, because you recognize you recognize her as your sister, but at the same time, it's like there's this disconnect between Mary and Gamma because of what Alpha kind of made you into. So I thought that was just kind of I wonder, is talking to, for one, there's not many children. Not many. There's no children around anyway. So I'm sure talking to Judith kind of made it, because it made you look like, for one, you're able to see like firsthand what they've built, and like, well, like, because Alpha always parades it around to be like, oh, this is some falsehood. Like they're trying to hold on to life. They're not living, like, this is the world of the dead. But to see a place full of life and prospering, to see kids, it's probably just a reminder of just kind of the human you once were, that you all were. So obviously, well, before all that, like, she ended up giving them the maps to like letting them know where the cave was and everything. And obviously Rosita was all about like, can we really trust this? But the fact of the matter is, Gabriel was like, oh no, I trust her because I believe her. The fact of the matter is, obviously, like I said, they are the most affected by this whole Sadiq, like the Dante situation, because it's like he's suggesting, like, the fact of the matter is they're weak, they're cowards. The fact of the matter is, if you find Whisperers, don't kill them, bring them in so we can break them, pull out their nails or their teeth, and which sounds like crazy coming from Gabriel. Was almost like, oh, that sounds a little psychotic. But to be fair, I think it's because Dante was the first time Gabriel's ever killed anyone not out of self-defense. It was straight up like he was defenseless and you just straight up murdered him just because you were filled with that rage. You're just like, we welcomed you in, we thought you were one of us, and the entire time you've been working with them, and now it's like Coco's going to grow up without a father, you know. And it's just that, and I think that's that whole, you know, Sadiq situation. Like I said, it's motivating both, you know, Gabriel and Rosita, even both of them kind of getting at each other, being like, well, you're not ready to be out there. And she's like, because he's like, you're not ready. And she's like, well, you're talking about me? What about you? You saying all that stuff. It's like you're trying to start a fight. He's like, well, what if I am? It's like, but for Rosita, because she's having nightmares about, like, you know, the fact is, you know, because a whisperer got that close to them. And now it's a situation of like, scared, you know, she's scared, you know, dreaming about like one sneaking in and hurting a baby, and it's just like that terrifies her. So when the time comes, Gabriel, you know, it's like he sends a team out and he leaves Rosita there, and it's like, because even she was like, yeah, it's actually the right call, because the fact of the matter is, I don't know, I don't want to put me or anyone else out there in danger, because she's so scared of leaving, because it's like Coco's needs me, because like if anything happens to her, Coco's not gonna have either one of her parents in this world, and it's just I can't let that be a thing. I can't let that happen. So Gabriel goes out with the group because they got a call about like, oh yeah, like there's a horde coming. Sadly, when they go out there, they end up finding out it was an entire lie, because I didn't even talk about it, but it is really interesting that the fact is that at the beginning, we saw Beta going into like an RV, and then below the RV apparently is like tunnels that they've dug out, and it ends up leading to a grave that later on they're like, okay, Dante must have set this up ahead of time. It's like, that's crazy the way Beta was able to just sneak inside. And that guy's like, yeah, like the fact of the matter is, you know, these whisperers are nothing one-on-one. Me and my crew, we beat up Lydia. It's like, yeah, you guys, yeah, you're big and tough. You beat up on a little girl, a teenager. Yeah. That's one thing, and then immediately you're dealing with second in command, and he starts ripping through people. The moment he killed people and just sat there, like, you're waiting for them to turn into walkers. That way you can have, you know, walkers on the inside without even having to bring them inside. And so everyone was completely caught off guard by this, and him showing up to go after Mary, and, you know, saying like, you know, because once again, Mary's trying to talk to him. It's like, look at all this. Like, the fact of the matter is, she lied. But I think Beta is so caught up in it that he's so, I mean, to be fair, he's been by Alpha's side since the beginning. Since the Whisper, you know, that's why he's Beta. Like, they kind of started this all together to a certain extent. So it's like, no matter, even though he might question certain choices she makes, the fact of the matter is, he wholeheartedly believes in everything that she does. He believes in the Whisperers. He's kind of like, it's almost like a cult where he kind of got sucked into it. But like, Mary is no longer sipping on the Kool-Aid. He's obviously like, Beta's drowning in the Kool-Aid. But he's even being like, oh, like, she'll make it painless. And Mary's not sipping. She's like, all she's gonna do is make me feel pain. And it's like, I'm not scared of it. He's like, yes, you are. And so, because Mary's, once again, she sees the life that's here, and it's like, it's not what Alpha said at all. I mean, once again, another contradiction was finding out that Lydia was still alive, even though like Alpha made that whole statement about like, hey, I killed my own daughter. You know, it's kind of like, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. You should be able to be willing to make that sacrifice as well. I'm surprised Mary didn't bring up that being a bit of contradiction, but to be fair, it already kind of is a known thing that she's aware of that contradiction, because, you know, wasn't it like Aaron and Carol were there at that point in time, I think. But regardless, I thought that was interesting, like, you know, Judith helping out and everything, and that gunshot actually took me by surprise. I kind of jumped a little bit when Judith pulled the trigger. I was like, that's pretty dope. But it's like, oh, he's wearing a vest or something underneath. And he's got Mary, but luckily, you know, Rosita shows up in time, but that didn't go the way. It's like, that's one tough SOB. I mean, to be fair, Daryl went one-on-one with him last season. Fell down an elevator shaft, still got out. That is going to be one tough SOB to like end up taking down. But, you know, Mary's kind of like, you come to me, because Alpha wants me alive. So if you take me and just leave everyone alone. and he does, but Gabriel and the others are waiting. But he manages to get away. And Gamma's like, I promise you, I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth. So, luckily, Gabriel didn't pull the trigger because I think he did, like, believe her. But I'm curious to see if Gabriel actually continues what he had said before. The whole thing about, like, trying, like, obviously it came from a place of, like, he was angry, but I wonder will he keep that up or not. Because I think it is a situation of maybe this situation with Mary might change its perspective. I don't know. I'm curious to kind of see on that front. But we do see at the end that she's kind of leaving with people. Because Rosita's needs to go to Hilltop, and Mary is, tagging along. And I love it, the introduction, Rosita being like, I'm Rosita. And Mary's like, I'm Mary. And she's like, I know. So it's like, I think they're kind of realizing not everyone is the same. I mean, to be fair, who is comprised of this group, former saviors and stuff like that. So you can understand the situation of things being, complicated, that people can change, that, so I'm like, I was like, oh, that kind of worked out. So I wonder what's going to happen when, Beta kind of comes back empty-handed. I mean, that's always probably going to be a thing that he's going to try. I mean, it's probably going to be like, they're probably going to drop the pretenses. Next time they see Gamma, they're probably going to just straight up kill her. I'm wondering how that whole thing is going to work at Hilltop. It's probably, I don't know. I mean, because obviously Lydia already had to deal with that. Obviously, some people in the group are a little more open to that than other people are, but that's definitely going to be interesting. Obviously, Aaron comes back because he talks about the fact that they all got separated. Obviously, we know, like, Magna and Connie are still, trapped in the cave system. I'm curious, where are the others? Like, did they try and, like, circle back around and try and find, maybe we'll kind of cut back to that next time. Because it's just interesting that, I guess they just sent Aaron back to kind of check things out. Well, it'll be kind of interesting to see what the others are up to, probably trying to, like, especially, like, Carol, because she feels so bad about, everything going down last episode. Kind of being, like, well, entirely her fault, so I'm curious to see what kind of happens on that front. But obviously another aspect to this episode is Daryl kind of going all commando on his own, waiting for an opportunity to strike. I like that camera angle though. Like, it's just one of those things I thought was kind of neat, where it's like Daryl's kind of sneaking up on a Whisperer, and then the camera kind of follows, like, moves past him and goes, and then, like, Alpha comes out with, like, other walkers and stuff, and then the camera pans around and Daryl's hitting himself. I'm like, that's actually, I don't know, I really like how that was done. I normally don't get too technical about stuff like that, but it's just like, I don't know, I thought that was a cool shot how that was done. Regardless, the fact of the matter, I didn't expect Daryl to straight up go, because I thought he was waiting for an opportunity to go inside the mines, but I guess it's like later on, it's like he asked where they were, so it's probably a thing of like, you were in the mine, so he's probably trying to find out where Magna and Connie are potentially. But the fact is, him kind of going solo like that, going up against Alpha, got super messed up though. It wasn't just a clean, like, oh, I'm taking Alpha down. It's like, no, he got messed up. He got like, the fact is, he got a little squallish in that moment, in that Squall and Cypher, in the sense that, like, obviously a slash across your face and blood's pouring in your face so you can't see well. Plus she's slicing at your legs and stuff, like stabbing you in the legs and stuff like that. But luckily Daryl got some good stabs in too, so he kind of ends up effing Alpha up. But like, obviously Alpha's not give up type, so she's following Daryl, and Daryl's super messed up. He had to keep the knife in his leg because obviously it's like, yeah, that's the only thing that's keeping, the wound from, like, bleeding out. But because of the walkers, because she ends up she makes a whole bunch of noise, and it's like, I can't really get over to get you, but I'm going to bring these walkers over here. And he had to use the knife in his leg at one point to kill the last one, and just blood starts gushing. I don't know why, like, I was, once again, technical stuff, just when blood ends up landing on the camera, you can kind of see him kind of get wiped away. I don't know, I've always dealt with that, like, not actually wiped away, but kind of, like, slowly kind of pulling away. I don't know if that's, like, digital stuff they add later on, or whether it's just kind of like they remove it digitally later. Once again, I'm not the behind the scenes type of dude, but I just thought that was kind of, I always think that type of stuff is interesting. But Daryl's too messed up to kind of walk, too much blood loss. Same thing for Alpha. And she brings up the whole conversation about the fact of the matter is, thank you, because it's like everything that's the depth around the walkers and stuff like that. It's like they made me who I am. They made you who you are. They made me strong. They made my Lydia strong. It's like, it's kind of, and Daryl's kind of like, no, like the fact of the matter is you never loved Lydia. And she's like, what? Say that again, boy? Like the fact of the matter is it's kind of like, making it seem like, once again, trying to make it seem like everything she did was for the purpose of, helping Lydia. And a conversation that comes up later on reminds us, like, right, Daryl's dad, he had talked about his dad being abusive. So it's like, he can tout from that perspective of, like, you didn't love your daughter. Like, you were abusive towards your daughter. Like, you hurt her. You broke her. You didn't make her stronger. She got stronger by leaving you. But then, that's how I kind of look at him. But then, like, Alpha kind of passing out, and then Lydia popped. I'm like, is this real? And the fact that she had the crossbow and everything, I was like, oh no, you're super here. And she's talking to her mom, and her mom's like, oh, my Lydia. It's like, oh, don't call me mom and everything. But she's like, oh, basically giving her the knife to be like, kill me, because this is your moment. Like, it's yours to lead, essentially. It's like, I guess it's like, kill me, I guess, make me part of your horde, like, make me part of your horde, make me your guardians, essentially. But Lydia couldn't bring herself to do it, because she's like, I'm not here for them, and I'm not here for you. And it's like, they're humans, and the fact of the matter is, that's kind of all I ever wanted, and you can never give that to me, because at least because Alpha's all about stripping away the humanity, making you one of the dead. And the fact of the matter is, Lydia was like, Lydia is no longer buying into her mom's lies. So she luckily was able to get Daryl out of there. And when Alpha does wake up, she sees that Lydia has scratched into the table. Your way isn't the only way. That there's another way to go about. Like, you want to submerge yourself in the dead, be the dead. These people want to live. They want to be human. And I like that line of, like, it's like, Lydia was like, yeah, because, like, when Daryl wakes up, he was like, you were out here? She was like, yeah, I was watching both of you. I think for her, she was trying to decide, like, watching both of them, seeing what they were going to do, to decide who she was going to help. Like, was she going to go back to her mom? But I think for her, it's just like, I think there is a part of her that would want to go back to her mom, but at the same time, it's like, I can't. Like, that's not the way. That's not the life I want. That's not the path I want to go down, essentially. And Daryl's like, did you kill her? And she says, if it was your dad, would you have killed him? And I think even Daryl kind of, like, he didn't chastise or anything like that, because I think for him, it's like, under those circumstances, not unless it's, I don't know. Not unless they're suggesting, like, not unless that's supposed to be a thing of, like, he actually did kill his dad, but it might be a thing of, despite everything, he never did. Because Daryl, once again, it's been a while, but I don't think Daryl, that was a whole conversation last episode between him and Carol about the fact that neither one of them is really good at talking. It's actually kind of interesting when you actually think about it, too, because it's like, Carol, obviously, her husband was abusive, so, like, sadly, that's something that's almost a commonality between all three of them, that they've kind of dealt with that in their lives, sadly, So, but I think because of this whole situation, you see Alpha, when she saw the message, she starts laughing. Because I think for her, it's like, now Lydia is officially dead to her. So I think it is a thing of, like, it's like, you left your daughter in their hands, and it's like, you thought you kind of made her stronger. But like I said, I kind of feel like they made her stronger, because the fact is that she would end up choosing them over you, I think, kind of shows that she is stronger now away from you. And so at the end, the other whispers around her, and she's talking about the fact is of kind of saying that, whole thing about, like, this is the end of the world and stuff like that. And I think that's her kind of accepting it all and just being like, oh, like, there is no love. Like, she was still holding on to that little bit of love from Lydia. And I think, because once again, in her own mind, she's thinking, like, oh, Lydia loves me because I made her who she is. I made her stronger, But now that that's kind of gone, I'm curious to see what that means for Alpha going forward. I was actually curious. There was actually part of me, I was like, is it really going to go down? Because I was like, I wonder who would be the one to end up taking down Alpha. Plenty of people have motives to do it, especially Carol wants to so badly, but I don't know if she's going to be so gung-ho to go about that now, just because of just everything that's going down, like her kind of being the dominoes that fall, that kind of keep putting the group in kind of shitty situations. So I'm curious to kind of see what that all means, especially like with Lydia's return and stuff like that. I think it's kind of, coming full circle when it's kind of like Daryl kind of saved her, so she's kind of almost returning the favor. But obviously she kind of felt like they were using her, so I don't know. I wonder is Lydia kind of like, because I kind of get that vibe, but I wonder is that what they're kind of going to push forward with like Daryl kind of being like the whole conversation about his own father, maybe he'll kind of step in the role of being kind of like a father to Lydia. Maybe potentially that's cool what they do. I don't know. I'm really interested to see, ultimately where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.